Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. Uh, I've got the hiccups. I've had them for a few minutes, so I apologize if I'm hiccuping a little bit here, like now. I just need to check my Facebook for 1 second here, make sure it's set up there, and people on my Facebook can ask questions if they want. Okay, we are ready to go. Hello, weird looking Larry. Thank you very much. I hope you're talking about the drawing of me. Hello, hello, hello. So at the moment, I think I'm alone, and I'm not sure how long I'll be on. Maybe an hour, maybe half an hour. Depends how exciting this chat gets. Glenn Kellaway can't make it tonight. Michael Garbett, hello. McGuill Torres, hey Larry. Gabrielle 1999105. How's everybody doing? Bellsprout, Larry, are you familiar with Paul Simon's discography? Yes, I am. And I've heard his new album on Spotify. It's very different, but I did like it. It was good. Hello, Olong Larry. And Cardboard Head Guy, one of the best usernames on YouTube. And Brady Dale, Brady Dale. The drawing, Larry, you look great. Thank you. Yeah, those I had some artwork done by a Facebook friend, Todd Jumper. He made some pretty cool drawings. I can't draw at all. I have no talent. Dan, can you get Grant or SCHNEE to come on? Sure. If they drop in, I'll send them the link. There's just sometimes, when I like to keep it at like not more than maybe 4 people, maybe 5, because it just gets to be a little too hectic to keep up with everything and all of the questions, or if there are questions. Matthew Lockwood, hell yes, this makes my night even better. Thank you. Dan, do you have a raving album? No, I've never even heard of them. Hello, I heard yesterday Paul Simon is losing his hearing. Oh, that's very sad. Brown Fedora, Larry, Jeff Witt from Dundalk says, howdy do. Howdy do back. Some different names on here, which is nice. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Chancey Phillips, hello, Larry. It's like I just saw you the other day. Yeah, well, I don't always do live chats. As some of you know, I've got chronic pain. But actually, the last 2 days have been pretty good for me. I've been in less pain, so I felt like doing another live chat. You're funny. Thanks, Bob. Leslie Miller is back. I made it. Yes, you did. Now I'm confused. Did you? I know you're a Sparks fan, but did you see Sparks yet? Because I know some of you have, and some of you haven't yet. Jason, was Canadian Studmuffin like your high school nickname? No. I'm 65 now, and I made up that name uh, in my probably in my 50s. I've never heard of Ravine. Yep, I've got a UFO box set. I like them. Elaine Bolton, hi. Too bad about Tina, though. Yes. May she rest in peace. I was watching some footage of her from like the very early 60s, like 1960. Just an amazing talent. And I thought I could dance and sing. Oh, Dundalk, Maryland, USA, that is. Have you ever listened to the band Manson? No, I've never even heard of that name. That's good. I'm glad your back is feeling better. Yeah, it's not really it's hard to explain, but sometimes it's my whole body, but it's mainly my neck and my shoulders. I'm just going to whine for the next hour. Okay. Oops, missed one. Not yet, July 12th. Okay, so you're seeing them 9 days after Molly and I see Sparks. Bin Pete. I heard this band Strange Advance today, and they reminded me of Sparks a bit. Yeah, I believe they're Canadian. I think. I could be wrong. 65, you could pass for 52. Thank you. I think, I always think that if I smoked I don't smoke, I've never smoked. But if I was smoking for the last 40 years, I would look my age for sure. So I think not smoking does help. And not drinking a lot either. Brady Dale, are you a fan of the Guess Who? Absolutely. I've got CDs of theirs. They're one of the greats. And they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Candomic Information Service. What a strange name that is. Just wishing you a fantastic weekend, Larry. It's always a pleasure to tune in. Thank you very much, and I hope you're doing well. What's your top 3 favorite UFO tracks? Lights Out is my favorite. And then just any song from either Lights Out or Obsession. Those are my 2 favorite UFO albums. Dan, are you on the hunt for the next grail that has eluded you thus far? Nope. Not at the moment. If you're talking about music. Will Glenn from the basement be on today? No. He's got other plans. That's probably just an excuse. Yes, 9 days after you all do. I really recommend really underrated band. Their album 6 is a prog alternative masterpiece. Cool. Oh, sometimes I miss one here. Did your love of Sparks start in auto shop in high school? So auto shop in high school, 58, 68, 9, 11. Well, they'd actually be around then, but I didn't know them until 1974. And actually I never took auto shop. Had no interest in them. What Yes starter records do you recommend? I would say probably Fragile. Favorite Tina Turner songs? Well, with Ike and Tina Turner, Proud Mary, and by herself, Simply the Best. Henry, why do you think Traveling Wilburys wasn't bigger given the fact that the lineup was insane? Well, I think their first album was a pretty big seller. And then the second one without Roy Orbison, it didn't do as well, but I think they did pretty well. And they were, I don't think they were doing it to sell records. They were doing it for the fun of it. How dare he? I know. It's like Glenn would rather be with his family than be on a live chat with me. I just don't get it. Yeah, Lights Out is also my favorite. Love Rock Bottom, yeah. And Doctor Doctor, yeah. Haha, Dan. On with the Action is my favorite UFO tune today. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday night. Leslie? Yes, Fragile. Yeah, I wouldn't say to start with Tales from Topographic Oceans. Dario Western. Hi, Larry. How's it doing? It's doing good. Thank you. What's some of your favorite movie scores or soundtracks? Any on CD or vinyl? The recent David Bowie soundtrack and the Sparks Brothers soundtrack. Briar's Music Showcase, who is a member. Thank you for being a member. Hey, Larry. Favorite band of this century? So you mean that started it in the 2000s? Well, they didn't start in the 2000s. I don't know. I don't know if I have one that's that current. Yeah, I'm going to have a talk with him about his priorities, Dan. Oh, missed one. Dario, hey, how are you doing, Larry? I'm doing very well, thank you. Bowling or mini golf? I like bowling. You can tell that I'm a sports kind of a guy. Not really. Chariots of Fire soundtrack was so good, I bought the record. Yeah. Steve Bartley, what do you think of Meatloaf's masterful performance on the classic Ted Nugent album Free for All? Yeah, great vocals. I used to love the old Ted Nugent albums like Free for All and Cat Scratch Fever, and then I lost interest in him. Can you do an impression of the Puddle of Mud singer singing about a girl from the cover that you reviewed? I should do that again soon, some kind of reaction. Those always seem to get pretty good views. Favorite actor that isn't named Tony Danza? How did you know he's my favorite actor? Um, I'll say Christopher Guest, although he's more of a comedian, but he's still, he's still an actor. Favorite Fleetwood Mac song would be Go Your Own Way. Genesis or Yes? I would easily choose Yes, although I still love Genesis. Do you like Meatloaf not to listen to, but to eat? Well, growing up, Bob, I did not like Meatloaf, the food. And once I matured, around the time I was 50, I started to like Meatloaf. So I like it now, especially when Molly makes it. Yeah, I haven't heard that album in a long time, but I love the song Free for All. Mhm. How did you get the nickname Stud Muffin? Well, nobody named me that. I had to make it up myself. I've told the story before, but I used to be on a music site in the early 2000s, and I would do comedy songs under my real name. And they used to have charts there and everything. And I thought I should have an artist name. And so I thought, I'm Canadian. So what can go along with Canadian? Obviously, Stud Muffin. So I've had that. Yeah, I've had that name for about almost 25 years, maybe. Yep, I like Sloan. Great Canadian band. Yep, I like 50s music. Brady. PJ Bandele. Tusk is my favorite Fleetwood song. That live version is terrific. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Me too. The young me hated the stuff. I love it now. Joel, I really have to say thank you very much for re-sparking my interest in Sparks again and again and again. Here's their latest album. I've played this about 10 times, and I truly think it's definitely in their top 10 best albums, maybe even higher. And I'm going to be ranking all of the Sparks albums fairly soon, I think. No, I've never been to the UK, not yet. Electric Sound or Unfinished Music #2? Which one better? Electric Sound. Richard Hinman. Have you ever heard the album Gene Clark No Other? One of the best albums of the 70s, in my opinion. Yes, I have it. I have the deluxe version, and I would consider it one of the greatest albums ever. So I agree. I recently bought George Harrison. You actually bought George Harrison? Or you mean the album? Yeah. Jeff, hey Larry, I listened to your Spark Spotify. It's interesting, and we'll give it some more listens. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to a lot of their albums yesterday, the early ones, and they've just kind of through the years, they've done it all. Like so many different genres. Uh, Peter Gabriel, although Phil Collins is very talented too. Never listened to Sparks. What do you recommend? I would recommend you check out my Spotify playlist. You'll see some Sparks videos on my front channel, and in one of the most recent videos, there's a link for a Sparks playlist, and it goes through their whole career. Henry, favorite comedian of all time? Uh, Martin Short, who is also Molly's favorite, and Christopher Guest, and John Candy. Those are three. Yep. Yep. I love Rush. Yep. I've heard that. Do you like Flo and Eddie? Yes, I've got a double album of two of their albums from their solo career, like Flo and Eddie years. And yeah, I like the Turtles. You could have went with Canadian Butter Tart. That actually would have been a good name too. Chris Pistofferson. Are there any artists from the past 20, 30 years that you like? Yeah, probably, but I can't think of any at the moment. Stephen Wilson, Porcupine Tree, The Arcade Fire. Well, Dario, if Molly and I can stay at your place, we will visit Australia and we'll stay there at your place for about a month, if you don't mind. All the world's a stage. First time I heard Sparks was probably on Midnight Special in the mid 70s. That's the first time I saw them. I've tried over the years to give them a shot. What are you hearing that I am not? I don't know, just good music. Everybody has, different tastes though. You like what you like. Now, this is a very serious question. Coke or Pepsi? I want you guys and gals to let me know which you prefer. But I've always preferred Coke. Michael, yep. I was a big fan of Uriah Heep in the early 70s. My two favorite albums are Demons and Wizards and The Magician's Birthday. Yep. SCTV comedians. Yep. Have you heard Harem Scarum? I've heard of the name, but I haven't heard them. I'm currently listening to Simple Minds Thoughts. I never really got into them. I much preferred YouTube back then. Do you ever see Phil McCracken hanging around? I just notice he uploads shorts sometimes, but other than that, he's never around. When did you begin to love classic rock or buy CDs? Well, I started buying CDs when they started making them because before that it was vinyl records. And I've loved classic rock music since seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. Pat Paradise Rock Station likes your videos. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it when, I don't take any compliment for granted. So thank you. I might be silly sometimes, but I really do appreciate it. Yeah, they have to carry on, right? They all love making music, and it's really sad what happened, but it's good for them to carry on. Simple Minds are a great band. I like them. Craig. Hi, Larry. I love it when you hear a siren and you hide on the floor. Makes me laugh every time. It hasn't happened recently, but I know that when I get a new viewer, right, and that's the first video they see, they don't know what the heck's going on, right? which I guess makes it even funnier. Are you familiar with the YouTube channel Pop Goes the 60s? Yes, I am. I'm friends with him. And I'd like to actually he's been on some at least one live chat in the past, and I would actually like to interview him. Thanks for reminding me. Bob chose the right answer, Coke. My favorite is Goodfellas, my favorite movie of all time. I'm not really big on either one of them, but if I had to choose, it would be The Simpsons. It's Michael Noland. Michael, if you can come on, I'll send you the link. Let me know. I recommend Dirty Honey, Rival Sons, or the band Dorothy as great 21st century bands. Cool. I cannot say for I do not drink any sodas. Yeah. I very, very rarely drink pop anymore. But, when I was younger, I mean, for years, since I was a teenager, I was like addicted to Coca-Cola. Like, and it's not good for you. Michael, no, you chose the wrong one. Lead singer of Simple Minds was married to who? I don't know. Yeah. I find Pepsi, I mean, Coke's very sweet, of course, but I find Pepsi really sweet. Are you doing a blind taste test? RC Cola won easily. Cool. If you could start a real rock and roll Hall of Fame, who would you ban from it? I don't know. I don't like being negative. It should be the other way around. Who would I put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that isn't in there yet? I would say the Guess Who, Blue Oyster Cult, to name two of many. That's a good question, Stephen. I wonder what others think. Between Adam's Family or Munsters. I think I'm going to go. They're pretty equal, but I'm going to go with Munsters. Was it Patsy Kensit? Midnight Special was such a gateway to music when I was young. Yeah, and they, in case you don't know, they have a YouTube channel now, and they just uploaded a full episode with Anne Murray, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Don McLean, and the the association. Yep. Yeah. Those two. Yeah, I lost interest in them soon after uh, soon after those two albums. But Ken Hensley, he released some really good solo albums too. Michael, here's the link in case you want to hop on. Pepsi, even though I should be triggered by it because in 1988 I had a perm like Russell Mail in the 70s. A couple of bullies thought I was trying to emulate Jacko, Michael Jackson, and they burnt with a lighter. Sorry to hear that. I don't know if I've seen any of his films. Maybe one of them. Yeah, the Red Green Show was great. Yep. They had a local Beatles fest here, and I met Pete Best. Favorite Led Zeppelin member it would have to be Jimmy Page because of his guitar work and his production skills. But all four members were incredible. Yep. Are Wayne and Schuster still around making Canadians feel Canadian? No, they both passed away a few years ago. The Shins. That's for losers. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they were on Wayne and Schuster, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show a lot. I drink Coke daily. Yeah, a lot of people do. Oh, I've never heard of that. I've heard of stevia. Adam's Family. Yeah. Munsters. But like I said, it was pretty, I don't know, 50-50. They were both crazy fun shows. Munsters. I've never heard those albums. I should listen to them. Not crazy about either, but if I had to choose, I like the original Star Trek TV show, just like Bob. The Munsters were funnier and the Addams Family were more hip or something. Yeah. Yeah. Jim Kerr. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Larry, are you into 60s garage bands? I wouldn't say I'm into them, but I like that sound, like the early Kinks. Leslie Miller saw Jimmy Page when he was still with the Yardbirds, along with Jeff Beck in the Yardbirds. That is awesome. Henry, favorite solo artist is Sir Paul McCartney, the greatest artist of all time, for me. Did you ever lip sync any bands when you were a kid? No. I did the Beatles at school and in my backyard. We charged a quarter. I broke even. Yeah. Stephen Bartley. I'm not really a fan of their music, but there's a Triumph documentary that I recently saw. I think it was on Netflix or one of the streaming channels, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Even if you don't like the band, it's great. Oh no,
Oh no.
it's SCHNEE.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm sorry I'm not who you were probably expecting.
I'm kind of disappointed. You're not who
Yeah,
I
I
was
know.
expecting.
I know I
You're
was
not
kind of I
you're
was
not Michael
disappointed too.
Nolan.
Yeah, well, I was disappointed too because I was thinking I was getting on somebody else's stream.
Yeah, and you
So
got me.
yeah, I just hit the random StreamYard.
Yeah, you just go
Oh,
to different channels and hopefully somebody accepts you.
yeah, exactly. You're the 17th person uh, I tried to get on stream with, and the only one that accepted me.
That's a great way to promote your channel. Just do that constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'll be stuck in the middle of like some like adult conversation, adult movie conversation. And I'll be like, what?
No, no, there's
I don't know.
no adult talk here. That's
No,
silly.
no, no. Yeah, I know that, of course.
Have you ever done
Um,
karaoke? Yes.
I'm too scared to karaoke.
I do it for fun. I can't sing, but I have a laugh.
Yeah,
Uh,
Marianne.
yeah, Marianne. No, I got to say Molly because I think Molly's watching.
Oh,
Molly.
well, I think everyone else has to say Marianne. We can't say Molly.
Yeah. So what's new?
Actually, I wish that I had pulled those. Remember, I told you about that I had those Sparks autographs.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see. Are they over here? Like handy? Um, no, I've got stacks. I've got crazy stacks of stuff. They're not handy, but such a. I'll tell you, it's such a great time for music. Because people always say they don't make good music anymore. They do.
Yeah.
And you've got the new Sparks album,
Yep.
obviously, and But then there's new bands like I finally got this in the mail. The Lemon Sherbets, a British pop band.
Hmm.
Guitar pop. If you're into power pop or 60s pop or something, but every year, I read this somewhere. I think it was like could have been NME or Trouser Press, that every year is the best year for music because you have whatever came out this year and everything before it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always every day discovering or rediscovering stuff. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Graham Parker again.
Yeah.
You fan of Graham Parker, or who else have I
Yeah.
been listening to?
Squeezing out sparks, I remember.
Yeah. Are you a fan of 10cc?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep. I have all of their early albums. Yep.
yeah.
My favorite is How Dare You.
It's like, to me, that makes total sense because you're a Sparks fan, because that tells me that what Larry listens to is stuff that's, you know,
Intelligent.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Like intelligently crafted.
Just
Because
yeah.
you had the Stewart and Goldman side, which was the pop and the melodies. Then you had the Godley and Cream side. And when they got together,
weirder side, yeah.
yeah, when they got together, man, it was crazy.
But I
Super
feel
creative.
the reason I like a pretty good, a lot of different kind of music, right?
Uh-huh.
It's because of the Beatles, because
Absolutely.
they did everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always say I'm a pop kid. I always love a pop melody, but that pop melody could be in a Spark song, like something off of Kimono My House, just as much as the 80s stuff. And it could be in a Godley and Cream song, and it could be in a Resident song. The music itself doesn't have to be pop, but as long as it's got a hook.
Yep. Well, I even like songs that don't have a hook.
It's hard. Like when I talk about hook, it's something like
yeah, that you will remember afterwards.
Yeah, are you a fan of the Residents at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like if you listen to the early stuff, a lot of people just say it's just weird, and it is.
Yeah, it is, of course. It is.
But there are hooks.
There's some, and there's even some beautiful music in there too.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, I love the fact your videos will pop. Your videos will pop up, and you'll talk about Sparks, and then your top 12 favorite classic rock of the 70s or whatever. And then, so there's always, oh yeah, of course I love Triumph the Insult Comic.
So do I.
Yeah. But you kind of don't know what you're going to get when you get a Canadian Studmuffin video.
I'm just trying to look cool and hip. I don't even like music.
See, I failed at looking cool and hip, so I don't even try.
Yeah.
I just put up stuff, on my channel.
Yeah. The zombies.
I'd say Pet Sounds. Well, no, I'd say it's a tie.
Yeah. When Stephen joins, the entire world stops and listens. I did not even know that.
That might be sarcasm, because maybe it's because I'm really loud.
Oh my God, these questions.
Pancakes. Because waffles get cold faster, especially Legos.
That's why I eat waffles.
Egos, not Legos. What was that?
That's why I eat waffles really quickly.
Well, here, I don't know if it ever caught or if it's caught up there, Larry, but a big thing is chicken and waffles.
Oh yeah.
And there's a great restaurant here in Southern California, and there might be, a couple other places. It's called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and they make the best waffles. And if you put the syrup and their butter together, it's like whipped cream almost. It's amazing. But I can't eat that stuff anymore ever since I had my heart problems.
And look, Stephen, you put my cat Middens to sleep. as
Well,
soon as you came on.
my voice is very either soothing or annoying, and I can't figure out which one it is.
It's kind of in between.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just joking.
yeah. Tom Jones. Okay, Leslie did a karaoke. Tom Jones still to this day, he's what, 142 years old or something,
I
and he
think he is.
still
Yeah.
sounds amazing. Dan, I would love to go to a real ski lodge and broadcast the show from there. Definitely.
No, my cat's never done karaoke. And cool. The busy men.
Larry, if I, my Holy Trinity thing, which you partook in, my Holy Trinity for Sparks, and I'm not, this isn't popular amongst a lot of Sparks fans, but it's probably going to go to Womp That Sucker, Angst in My Pants, and In Outer Space. Those are my three favorite Sparks albums.
Angst in My Pants. That was the first, when that album came out, that's the first time I saw them in concert, 1980.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. They were actually going to play in Toronto, and then they got onto Saturday Night Live. So
Yes.
they had to postpone it by 2 nights, but I still saw them. Yeah.
Oh, good. Awesome.
And they're playing at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Is that not like a pretty big place?
It's a very prestigious place.
Yeah.
And now I saw them on the Balls tour.
Yep.
And that was pretty interesting. Their drummer at the time, I'm sorry, I forgot her name.
Glover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she, when they did the in-store at Virgin and I had the stuff signed or whatever, she's just as beautiful as Cameron Diaz, and she kicks butt on drums.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really see her until I saw her in, up close there at the table, as they were signing.
And you fell in love with her.
Yeah, and then of course within 2 weeks,
it was over.
No, within 2 weeks she filed the restraining order against me.
Yeah.
So, but then again, so did Russell and Ron.
Yeah.
I saw the Jam. Great band.
Wow.
That's right. You're getting into Weller, right?
Yeah, I've got everything by him now.
I have. I'm kind of going the opposite route. Now, I was a Jam fan beginning in '78, and of course, I went through the Jam, through the Style Council, but I really love the 3 albums that Bruce Foxton, the bass player from the Jam, has put out over the last 10 or 12 years. And the albums he records with, he's in a band called From the Jam now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Russell Hastings, the guy who sings in From the Jam, is the guy who sings lead on the Bruce Foxton albums. And Paul Weller's on at least one of the albums. And they recorded it at Paul Weller's studio. And they're really good albums. They're nothing. Paul Weller has more soul. Not literally more soul, but more soul influence in his voice and in the music than Bruce Foxton does. But if you like the Paul Weller stuff, people may want to check out the Bruce Foxton solo albums. Not the one. I mean, the one from '84 is very new wavy, but the stuff he's put out in the 2000s is a new one from last year called The Butterfly Effect, which is really wonderful. Some amazing songs. If I had it last year, it would have been in my top 10.
Wow. Exile on Main Street made the biggest 180 over the years as far as public opinion is concerned. Would you agree? It's not one of my favorite Rolling Stones albums.
It's always been really, really respected over the years. I'm surprised, something like Goat's Head Soup, and what's the Black and Blue? Black and Blue gets crapped on these days, but it's got Fool to Cry on it, which is a wonderful track. And what's the one? She's got a mind of her own. And she Memory Motel, I think is the name of the song, which is another great. Yeah. Did you ever notice that Keith Richards had sort of this whiny type voice in the 70s, and then just all of a sudden, his voice turned into this really gruff,
I like
grainy
their
voice.
vocals. Yeah.
I like the old Keith Richards vocal.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of upper, you know, kind of tinny type voice.
Were those venues on South Street? I don't know. Was that for you there? Were those venues on South Street? Oh, at Stephen Bartley. Okay.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of Strange Advance. In fact, I think I'm going to try to get Drew to do a Zoom interview with me and Ronnie Barnett. I love Strange Advance, and that album they put out called last year called Strange Advance 4 is fantastic. It's the first album in like 20 something years or whatever. Wonderful. I agree with that, Briars.
No, I don't have any of their solo stuff. I don't think I'd be interested in them.
They're very, very strange. I have a 5 CD Consequences, which has the original 3
out. The Gizmo thing that they were doing.
Yeah. I think they're very strange. I do have them. I have a couple Godland Cream box sets.
We have a superstar with us now.
I'm not a Oh, you weren't talking to me.
Where?
Right here. You're talking to him.
But of course. Oh, can you hold on just a second, Larry? Yeah. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn. Okay.
Well, I did not know you were an actor.
Stephen.
Hey, you know, maybe I should leave the two superstars by themselves.
Well, now don't trust us with each other.
Yeah. Roscoe's.
What's new with you, Michael? And what's coming up on your channel?
Wow, tons of stuff, buddy. Big thank you to you giving me some information regarding going Patreon, because of course I have. Right now I'm working through some issues getting videos actually uploaded on Patreon. That's been kind of like that's what I was actually doing when your show started, and I put your show on the phone, and I'm trying to get these videos uploaded.
So you just upload them directly to Patreon, though, right?
That's what I've tried, but once
for me, I've uploaded hundreds of videos there. No
wow.
issues.
Wow, I haven't been able to upload one single video except by the old trick of copying a link and then releasing that video. My first Patreon video, I wanted to release it 24 hours ahead of time, for the supporters and everything. And I wound up having to publish it on my channel first and then create a link, and then Patreon will allow me to do that. I'm sure it's something I'm messing up. It's got to be on my end. I'm doing most of my uploading with my iPad. I have an iPad Pro. I do all my editing on that through LumaFusion, all of that kind of stuff. And, you get so bogged down in what you know, you don't realize what you don't know, So it's a new platform and all of that, but it's a platform designed to give a little more say-so to channel subscribers and those who are actually, supporting the channel in a financial way, and it's going great so far, Yeah.
Well, what I love about it is I do my music. What I have mine for is mainly song and album reactions.
Right.
I can post any music I want there. I don't have to worry about any copyright crap.
Yeah, and I gotta say, this time last year, my channel was at at this time, I think I was at about 1,500 subscribers, and that was a giant growth. Are you aware of Soul Train Bro, by any chance?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, at the time, the man had like 20,000 subscribers, and one of my subscribers shared one of my videos. This is how, if you guys are out there and you're not sharing videos, this is what it can do for a content creator. I was at about 750 subscribers. I had only been on YouTube for about 6 months, so that wasn't bad numbers either. but when he showed two of my videos, he actually showed the whole, I think they were each about 20 minutes long too. And he showed the whole thing, and he'd insert little comments on the video and everything. And to my knowledge, I don't think he has ever done that for another person. And it was one of my subscribers, known as Helene Spalding, who went over there and shared the video. And Wayne saw something.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what it was
I
he
bet
saw.
it was your hair.
It was my hair. What's left of it. You know, but no, he did such a big favor to me, and he doubled my channel within a month, and by the end of summer, I was hitting at 18,000 subscribers. And so that's. I mean, I was just trumping along, man. I started off as a tech channel. I was going to do how to edit videos, how to create motivational lighting, and all of that kind of stuff. I have an interest in that area. Matter of fact, that's one of the reasons I like doing a channel, is I can kind of get creative with the visuals and kind of, do something. I'm not writing material right now like I used to. And so it gives me something creative to do, and I got to tell you, one little share, man, you're one share away, you're one viral video away from going places. So for all you content creators out there, if you're having a tough time and everything, man, my advice to you is do your best, improve each video, just like even 1%. Think about that's a 10% increase over 10 videos. It won't be very long before you're 3 times better than you were, and maybe have 5 times more subscribers because of it too.
And I would also say, just do the videos. Don't concentrate. I mean, everybody does, right? They look at the views. They want the views. I understand that, but don't make that the main thing. Do the videos you like to make.
Right.
And there's old videos of mine, right? And somebody will see it and they'll share it, and they'll, like you said, get thousands of views. Like, just sharing a video, right?
Here's my whole thing about subs and views is, I don't get a lot of views. I mean, I've got 1,650 subs or something like that. And very, very, very pleased with that. But my videos get about 100 views, each. And my whole thing, it isn't because I'm egotistical and arrogant and I think I deserve more subs. It's because I'm so passionate and I love what I talk about. I absolutely love the lemon sherbets, and I want everybody to know about this. But when you've got 1,600 subs and you get 75 to 100 views, it's not getting out there like you want it to. And plus, I'm going to be doing an interview with these guys. I do interviews, with artists on my channel. But what happens is, I might be able to get somebody bigger or be able to reach more people and talk about these bands that nobody knows about if I had more subs and more views. And that's kind of thing. I'm not looking for it because, it's egotistical. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get enough people to do Patreon. In fact, if I set up a Patreon now, I'd have to pay people to pay me.
Right. Well, that's interesting because I'm betting Larry will agree with me on this. And Larry's channel is nearly twice the size of mine. Mm-hmm. Subscription numbers, we go for it. As you can tell by my story, that was kind of important, at least to my ego. I'll tell you, my wife had enough listening to me. Oh, guess what's going on here, right? But it is, a subscription number is a vanity number, really, if you think about it. Because if I was to get views corresponding to matter of fact, you know what, Stephen, you may have more, a higher ratio, even with 100 views than I got, because I've got 28,000 subscribers. And with the exception of a few real big videos that have gone beyond that, most of my videos, and especially this last week, getting ready for this holiday and everything, I can barely get 2,000. Now Steven's going, oh yeah, he's complaining about 2,000. But if you think about the width from 28,000, most of your subscribers that subscribe to you, from what I have seen, they like a video. Oh, I might like to see that chap again. And they hit that subscribe and you never see them again, you know? Because it wasn't quite the video that they fell in love with. But most people aren't going to go, oh, I'm going to that usually comes like once a year. Oh, I've got to scrub some of these, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
Yeah. So total subscribership isn't even 1/10 of the story, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen you, Steven. You're great. You're great.
Are you talking about me, Michael?
Oh, of course, Larry. That's what it was code. Steven and I have been talking about you this whole time.
Exactly. I thought you'd never pick up on it, Larry.
Yeah, but Steven, I mean this. Yours is good at talent.
He's got the voice, right?
Better than many. And you know what? You've got world class stamped all over you, and just hang in there, man.
Oh yeah. I just love it so much, though. As I mean, when you watch Michael or you watch what was your name again? Who's this guy? Gary.
Gary.
Yeah, Gary. When you watch, the thing that's really important is the fact that is the person really into what they're talking about?
Yeah. Are they real? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or are they putting on an act? I hate that.
But do they love that? I mean, by watching Michael Nolan or by watching Gary Studmuffin, that that they love what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And that's all I want. I want people to walk away from my things and go, this guy's totally into, if I talked about the Beatles and if I just did a whole series on Larry and just talked about Larry, then I'd probably get a lot more views. But I'm not complaining though. The thing is I am doing what I want to do. I do a video on rank and file. Who else does a video on rank and file? I might be the only person. But the thing is I'm doing what I want to do. Right. And that's what's important, I think, that we do what we want to do. Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a channel. I like conspiracy theories. I don't believe in most of them, but I love conspiracy theories. And, did we really land on the moon? Is the moon really hollow? Is it a giant spaceship? All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that's called the WF Files, right? And he has this sidekick in a bowl. It's an animated goldfish who inserts smart-ass jokes in between, but he delivers it in a way that you've never seen conspiracy videos delivered. Do you know that guy this time last year was under 100,000 subscribers? He's almost at 2 million now.
Wow.
Just skyrocketed,
Incredible.
And you know what? Don't sell you short on the idea of patronage either, because you might find that you have a high ratio of your subscribership now, right? That would just love to see you untamed, really set loose from the boundaries of YouTube proper. Anyway.
Yeah. We just did, I have a show called This Is Ski Lodge, which I won't go into, but it's like a radio show, but I get on Tuesday nights and I play it and I interact, and it's usually about 50 people show up a week. And we decide to press up mugs and t-shirts. Right. And we're almost sold out of them, but I'm not going to press up another batch because not get all big headed and go, gee, well, we're going to press more. And then we're going to sit around with a bunch of them. But it's fantastic that we have that support, that people want those mugs and t-shirts.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been looking into that since last September. Actually, I was looking into Patreon last September, but with channel growth and everything and maintaining, part of my channel's complexion is I actually, for the first 2 to 4 hours after I upload a video, I spend 2 to 4 hours typing replies to people in the comments, because that's the nature of what I wanted to create. I always say, subscribe to the tribe. I have this little mantra thing that I go, all you have to do is subscribe to the tribe, hit that top bell icon, and you'll be notified of future videos, blah, 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 blah. And I go through that, right? The thing is that people like things, little tags, as long as it's not too fake. You know, I think in my last video I said, hit that subscribe to the tribe. How did I put it? Then hit that top bell notification. Then I just started going, has he done this before, in the middle of the sentence, and finished it? I try to keep it real, but there are, you know, sign on, sign offs at work. And you kind of got to just, like I said, 1%, even 1%. I'm a crazy idiot. I try to make each video twice as good as it ever was, and often it reaches 75% of what my last video was, which was a disappointment. So nobody's on 24/7, right? Yeah. And there are some videos, like the nature of my channels, I like to keep it current. So when Tina Turner passes away, I did a tribute, and I noticed in the VC community there was a lot of animosity about doing that. And they said, well, why not talk about her when she was alive? Well, are you kidding me? She was holed up in Switzerland. Is that where she lived?
Yeah, Switzerland, yeah.
And she had retired, and that was it. And after her last tour, if you remember, she still sounded good, even if she didn't quite move like she used to, but she still looked fabulous. That was only 14 years ago, guys. 14, that was 2009. When she was performing, and 14 years later, you know, I mean, this was the last part of her life, and that is when people want to, oh yeah, so-and-so passed away. Oh, you remember that song? Oh, I used to love her. And there's interest. And if you're on YouTube to get yourself monetized, which I freely have admitted right from the get-go, first of all, I told my wife, I want to do something that I want to do. It's my thing, something that excites me. So all of that stuff was all covered up. But as I went further, I realized that, yes, it is a bit of a business, you know, and, you know, if you're getting monetized, you want to make videos that'll attract ads, right? And so I go back and forth. I've done deep dives on Autumn by the Smashing Pumpkins, and I did this deep dive on that first disc that he did, and I tried to make sense of the storyline by his interviews. This guy named SCHNEE on this album, and how he has been banished from Earth, and he's forever circling the Earth, but he decides after years and years to go crazy and turn his ship to set the controls to sound familiar, and crash his ship, and you know, I did a bang up research on this video. I can barely watch that thing. And guess what? Neither could anybody else. It was one of my worst performing videos. And I put so much into it. And there was a couple of things wrong. First of all, on second listening, it's not that great of an album as I thought it was that first week. Second of all, Smashing Pumpkins aren't the hey, Smashing Pumpkin, oh, I got to read that article, right? Anymore. They haven't been there for a while. And then on top of that, I don't think I bought my own BS on that. Oh, I got to be careful not to BS myself. I'll wind up loving a record because I think I'm supposed to, you know, and you would think after 68 years on this planet, I would have learned my lesson, but I still fall for the same old crap that I did when I was 15, you know? But what I'm saying is, as far as what we present, just make it better, learn from your mistakes. Why didn't that video go, you know, viral like I thought it would? And then I make some dumb shit video that I did a video on the one singer in rock and roll I can't stand. All right. And it's a 5, 6, 7 minute video. And I got in there and I tell how my wife can't stand Rod Stewart, you know, because she grew up in the "Do You Think I'm Sexy" period. And I grew up when he was still playing guitar with Jeff Beck. And, you know, we came at his vocal style from completely different angles, and she couldn't
Yeah.
stand it. And of course, my pick was, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but I can't stand the sound of Axl Rose's voice. It's like nails
I
across
agree.
a
Yeah.
chalkboard for me. It's not, I understand he's got a great range. I understand the material that the band has covered has been pleasing, as long as he's not singing. Anyway, but I understand his greatness, his prowess, but here's my problem with him. I used to sing in choirs, both in church and in high school, all right, and throughout junior high. So years and years. I understand parts, tenor, second tenor, alto, blah, 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 where they place. And this guy, within his range, he sounds like this. And there's no, he's like he's on permanent, what is that? Tremolo,
Yeah.
with some guy doing something weird with the
Yeah.
treble or something. And that's and it just grates on me. And then after they raped Live and Let Die,
Oh, yeah.
that was unforgivable for me, because the definitive version of that will always be Paul's version, thanks to George Martin, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he had
yeah.
a lot of input in that.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
so I did that dumb little video. It was me just, I'm pissed off at this guy. I'm just going to do the video because I saw a video of him and I'm going, God, why is it? I hate this guy. Anyway, the damn thing went to 250,000 views. What do you
Holy
do with
cow.
that? And
You have
that's
no control over what's going to
none,
take off or not. No.
none.
I have to get through some questions here and then we'll come
Sure.
back because I'm behind here.
Absolutely.
Everybody, what's your favorite Beatles song? Mine's A Day in the Life.
The three, the end of Abbey Road, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, the end.
Yeah.
I consider that one song.
Both magnificent choices. I go with not Yellow Submarine. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Eleanor Rigby for me. It says it all. The tortured story, not of just this woman or a lonely priest, but humanity, and we're all alone. Like in that famous Star Trek episode where Spock, the lady who had to mind meld with the Medusa because he was so ugly, people would go insane. And when Spock did it, he came out as that Medusa, and he says, "How do you people do it? You're wrapped in your little shell. You're so alone. You're all so lonely." That song, man, that's an opera. That's a mini opera.
Yeah. And he wrote that in his early 20s, right? Like,
it's incredible.
Yeah, he was still, it was 66. So I would imagine 69. Yeah, because it said in 69, 28 if, but he was actually 27. So go 3 years back. That's 20 what? 24.
Oh, that's right. He was 42. He was 42. He was 42.
Yeah.
Or I mean, he was born in 42. I'm sorry.
Right. June of 42. And Ringo and who is John were all both in 40, weren't they, Stephen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's where I got confused.
Yeah, poor George, 43. But I love it when George said that in the anthology. He goes, way back then, Paul was always 18 months older than me. And back then, that was a big deal. He goes, but you know what's really funny? And I'm paraphrasing the guy. He goes, he's still 18 months older than me. And I got that statement because I have a friend who is 13 months older than me. He's the closest thing because I was the oldest in my family. He was the closest thing I've ever had to a big brother. And you know what? To this day, I'm 68, he's 69, and he's still 13 months older than me. He has a seniority that long life cannot break,
Yeah, exactly.
And yet, with that kind of feeling, think about how far George traveled in the Beatles. My God.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I'm not into Zappa, so I can't answer that question.
Favorite early Zappa song, Trouble Every Day for Me. Why did you make the cartoon version of yourself in the thumbnail look so unappealing? Thank you. Sparks propaganda still holds up. Yep, 50 years. Saw Paul Weller in 95.
I saw the Jam in 82. Dawn the Good. Especially the song I Could Be So Good. I Could Be So Good to You. Yeah, fantastic.
Bruce is good. Are you familiar? Yep, The Left Bank.
Yep.
Heard of them?
Walk Away Renee, Pretty Ballerina. Yeah.
Favorite movie, Stephen?
My favorite movie of all time is probably Jaws. It's either going to be Jaws or Bonnie and Clyde.
Ooh, yeah.
Hollywood Bowl capacity is 17. Cool.
Okay, there you go. Yes, I agree with that, Dan.
The Hollywood Bowl seats 17,000.
Yeah, that's where my band
17.
Sparks is playing.
Ah, I was I never thought of it as quite that big. I mean, that's as large as the new Sphere in Las Vegas. That's a 17,000 seater, and that thing is huge.
Yeah.
I always thought that you know, the Hollywood Bowl was kind of, I don't know. I thought maybe 8 to 10,000. You know.
Yep.
Going back to the other question real fast. My favorite Rolling Stones album, believe it or not, is Some Girls.
Yeah, Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, me too. With Sticky Fingers, it seemed to me that was the album. They truly separated themselves from being, that band that keeps ripping off the Beatles, even though that's not what they were.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
but that's too oversimplified. But with Sticky Fingers, there were no Beatles out, you know, as a Beatle. And my God, they came up with that magnificent piece of art. Oh, blew me away. So
Michael,
it's
you got a compliment here. Look.
What's that? I'm on my phone, so these are real small.
Yes, that guy is amazing. I'm a huge fan of the Smashing Pumpkins and love his discussion of.
Well, thank you, Matthew. Yeah, that was that video I was telling you about, and I really got into it. You know, a track by track telling of the story. I based it all on about 5 interviews from Billy Corgan that I had watched on YouTube. I put so much into that video, and hardly anybody watched it. You know, I mean, it did low average, I would say. And I was surprised because I thought, wow, because he had just released that first disc, and he was releasing each disc in, procession. And I thought, well, that ought to generate interest, right? And for whatever reason, you know.
So Muffin, you have some very funny old videos. Yes, my old videos are funny, not my recent ones.
Oh, Larry, I was watching your channel years before I even thought I would ever start a YouTube channel. Well, I knew you back when you and I used to ride the dinosaur to school. No, I've been following you, not back to when you first started, like in the 2000s, you know, but probably a good 4 or 5 years now.
Wow, cool.
And I just started a year and a half ago.
And when you were watching me and thinking, if this guy can do it, I can do it.
Actually, I got your humor right away. Yeah. That was the thing. I loved your offshoot videos even more than the rock and roll. And then I started gearing into your rock and roll videos when I started considering, hey, listen, if you're going to start something, take a look at the people who are doing it right and nick every damn thing they do. That's the best thing. But then put your stamp on it, you know. That's the whole secret.
I do about 1 comedy video every year. I just did one with my Gamer Junkie, and the last one I did was a new show that I was going to have called Nothing But the Effing Beatles.
Oh, and the VC community. It seems like these days, man, you start talking about, especially when you're on Rachel's Ghost, you know, you start talking the Beatles, and it's like she gets shut down every time. There's almost not quite snobbery, because every one of them will say, oh yeah, the Beatles was great, but haven't we heard this to death? Actually, you know what? A lot of people haven't heard all that stuff, you know, and people like to hear the stories of, you know, the biggest rock band to ever exist. I mean, whether you like them or not, I'm sorry, you can't argue with the numbers, the hits, the changed in direction of music, and their Aeolian cadences.
But see, I don't talk about the Beatles on my channel because I figure everyone else does it so well. You know, like
Yeah.
Joe
Yeah.
Mayo or whoever, Matthew Street and Beatle Brad and stuff. You know,
Right. Right. I watch them all. Yeah. Yeah. Matthew Street does a great job.
Yeah.
yeah,
And you know what? The Beatles are, as you can tell, are my number one band of all time. Led
me
Zeppelin's
too.
number two. So I do videos to represent them on the channel because they changed my life, man. Well, like I did a video called the top 10, uh, the 10 best albums of rock and roll. And so that got them in, right? A good thumbnail, folks, right?
Yep.
Don't use the color red for your lettering in your thumbnails,
Yeah.
your thumbnails, all right? Because that's a no-no on YouTube.
Mhm.
It doesn't attract viewers. It actually turns people off. But
Now, which
besides
color?
that, what's that? Red
Okay,
in
red.
lettering. In lettering.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
okay.
Yeah. They just say that, that's see, I spent when I decided to do the YouTube channel, uh, besides some of the equipment you see back here that I've had for decades, I was out of a computer, so I had to I got myself an iPad, and then I started buying lighting, and then I started buying, a wide angle lens. I actually shoot my video on my iPhone, but I've got it attached to a wide angle lens
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
shoot it in 4K, and I get good results. But the thing is when I was doing all of that was the year and a half, because I could only, my wife and I each have a personal allowance each month. And I funded this entire studio on my meager allowance each month. So I spent about a year and 2 months getting the stuff that I needed to do what I wanted to do. And I spent those months, those 14 months, looking at every single video on how to make a great video, what kind of videos would get views. I watched them all. Sean Cannell and his group. There's several of them that will show you how. There's secrets to lighting that's real easy to learn. Like, for example, right now over my shoulder, I have an overhead light. It's meant to accentuate this shoulder. Now, this is, you're going to make me look like some pompous ass. But really, seriously, small little things like this do help. You take a look at my first videos, and my God, it's like washed out and everything. And I wanted, like I said, I'm a songwriter, I'm a musician, I'm a martial artist. Creativity is me. And that means if I'm going to do a video, I want to kind of punch it up and everything. But see, that overhead light accentuates the shoulder. It gives the illusion of the light back behind me is doing that, creating that. All right. Well, that light back there is the dimmest that you possibly could put it on. It is about as light. It would light this room in a dark room as much as a small little wall light that you go, so you don't go tripping over shoelaces in the middle of the night when you have to go to the bathroom. Right. So but I had to learn to do that. And there are channels out there. So there's another thing for any content creators, look at some of the tricks. Some of them are so simple to do.
Get a good microphone. This is
that's
a
my next
Blue Yeti. I love this. It really kills any background noise.
Well, that's what I have too, but I don't have I have the screen guard instead of the big puffy thing.
Foam thing.
Yeah, you both got me beat in sound. That's my next project, is to bump up the sound. I just never wanted a mic in front of my face. I wanted to kind of look like I'm just talking in a room. But if that's going to be what it takes to get a better sound on my videos, because I either get the bassier response, because what you're hearing is being picked up by these things here. That's my mic today, right? But for my videos, I have a clip-on, nice, but lavalier microphone. They're only going to give you so much. And then I tried directional microphones attached to the phone. The problem is it picks up the room, and for those to work, I'd have to go in and do a lot of soundproofing. I'm not willing to do that at this point. So I've got my little thing here that for a mic. I just haven't done it yet. And to tell you the truth, the one I want's going to cost hundreds of dollars. So,
well, my mic is like, this is almost like a temporary, I'll be out of this place in, 6 months, whatever, hopefully into a more permanent place. But there's so much echo here that I definitely need to have it here, because if I have the mic here and I'm making my videos and I also have a radio show, you can hear the sound of it bouncing off the walls and it doesn't sound clear.
And you can hear it right there when you did it very clearly. That reverberation that you're hearing, folks, is him backing off, because that mic is so close and it isolates everything else because of the cardioid pattern and all of that.
Yeah. So, I need to have it here. And plus, I mean, a lot of people ask me just to put the mic in front of my face so they don't have to look at it.
Do I look more professional now?
Oh, yes, you do, Larry. Have I ever told you,
So
Larry Studmuffin, you're so cute?
Larry,
what's that?
What are your guest YouTube channel names? Tell us, before I forget, tell us about your channels.
Michael first.
No. It's called The Bottom Line. Michael Nolan, The Bottom Line. I talk classic rock. That's, I'm about a 12-trick pony. All right. I have quite a wide swatch of bands that I love and everything, but there's tons that I'm learning about bands I just didn't quite catch on to, didn't have interest in, and I want to get more into that as the channel progresses. But we cover anything from old band stories, the story of these bands, to album reviews and current events, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Axl Rose. That's it.
I am going to subscribe to your channel, Michael. That sounds interesting.
Oh, well, I've always relied on the kindness of
And
strangers.
after this is all done, I'm going to put a link for both channels in the pinned comments. So please subscribe to the channels. Stephen, you have 30 seconds to describe your channel in detail.
Stephen SCHNEE is what my channel is under, just Stephen with a PH. SCHNEE, and I talk about a lot of stuff that other people don't. I have a series called CD Junkie, where I will go through a catalog of artists or a particular artist catalog and talk about each album and show it. I'm going to be filming 10cc pretty soon, and I've got Rank and File up there, Josie Cotton, and I also have a show called This Is Ski Lodge, where I play Sunshine Pop, late 60s, early 70s AM pop. And that's the most popular thing. We have merch available. And I just love music, passionate about music. And I don't reach enough people, but one of these days I will. And I'll be able to talk about yachts and squeeze and split ends and all these crazy bands that nobody, that a lot of people don't talk about. So, but that's what my channel is all about. It's just about spreading the love of music. That's it.
And folks, he is so good.
Yep.
You can tell that here, but I mean, he is so good. I first found out about you through, you were on Rachel's panel one day, and I went over, I immediately subscribed because, man, you just cut right through what was done. You're better well-timed than I'll ever be. I hear something and I go, oh yeah, well, and Steven's just sitting back, and then he just makes that point just like that. Instant fan, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Michael, especially coming from you. And yes, Dan, I do like the Shazam. I'm a big power pop guy, a big 80s new wave guy,
Oh, the best of new wave saved music. We needed it badly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love when just things come along and, oh my gosh, mayonnaise much better than Miracle Whip.
Oh, Steven, here's a question for you.
Yes.
I'm a fan, but you're not going to, if you don't like the guy, no skin off my nose. But out of the 80s, and not quite new wave, but ties to the new wave, I love Thomas Dolby.
Oh, absolutely. No, he's totally new wave.
Yeah, and you know, especially, I mean, I loved the one I like everybody else. I got turned on. She blinded me up by science, and I bought the
Yeah.
Golden Age of Wireless,
Love
and
that
the
album.
album was so much better than that song. And but the Flat Earth, oh, what an album! To me, that should be in the Library of Congress. That recording, it is so different than anything he ever did. You know,
Mhm.
ah, amazing artist.
See, I think that with Thomas Dolby, you know, he had to do yes, Ed Ames passed away. You know, he had to do Golden Age of Wireless. I'm a pop kid, so I think that album is better, in my opinion.
Right.
I love
Right.
that album. You're up on the Pirate Twins, Wind Power, Airwaves, you know, things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then the Flat Earth was it's kind of like the Golden Age of Wireless cracked open and wider, and it just it's a sonically different record, but it's still just as I mean, you can't stop listening to that album. You know, the Flat Earth.
You know what? Yeah, you said it perfect. I prefer the Flat Earth, but when you said that, I could go for that. That whole
Yeah.
line of reasoning is
Mhm.
so freaking logical, because you're right. The Golden Age of Wireless, man, talk about, you know, you would go from, you know, that point to one of our submarines are missing, you know,
Oh
and
yeah,
we're,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
oh, I mean, but with me, the only reason why I liked Flat Earth a little bit better was, to me, like, Wireless was Thomas Dolby's, in Beatle terms, would be their Rubber Soul. And
Right.
the Flat Earth is like his Abbey Road, even though
Totally.
it's even more organic sounding than,
Yeah.
you know, a little lesser on the electronica. Actually, he's playing some of those relatively simple guitar parts, but nice jazz chords. And you can almost hear the river and smell the jungle around you when I hear that album. And any album that could, either one of them, though, either one of those two albums, you chose that as number one, I'd go, no problem.
Flat Earth
You know?
is like Thomas Dolby Unchained. It was almost like the success of Blinding Me with Science said, I can do anything now. I don't have to
Anything.
I don't have to keep it in this. I can do it this. I can do Panorama. You know, you know, I can do Technicolor. And that's what he did with that album.
And the way the album cover, and both album covers are fantastic for different reasons. I mean, the Golden Age of Wireless was like a updated version of an Indiana Jones poster. It was that flamboyant, right?
Yeah.
But with the Flat Earth, you get these slender windows with a white backdrop, and of they're like windows into nature. And I guess I got that right away when I saw, because it turned me on. It looked like fine art in a gallery, and it had a mindset to me. And you know, what is it, Zulu, or what's the dissonance of that song? You know, and yet the harmonies over the dissonance creates almost another mode that you're listening to. You know, perfect harmonies over a dissonant melody. Oh, love it. Oh,
Southern California for me.
Here, sorry. Where are you guys from?
I'm from the Central Valley in California.
I'm Southern California.
Ah, West Coast.
Yep.
We still got sun now here, Larry.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, so do I.
Dave Clark is a fraud. Mike Smith was the talent in that band.
He was.
Yeah.
I agree. Mike Smith, great voice. I mean, when people think of Dave Clark 5.
Thomas Dolby's last album, Floating City, is amazing.
I didn't care too much for Aliens Ate My Buick, but I still think he makes interesting records.
Yeah.
Anyone like Gentle Giant? Yes.
Not too familiar with him.
Roger Ramjet. Anybody remember that cartoon?
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of for adults, wasn't it? Some of them. Like,
Oh, all of those. George of the Jungles. All of those, you know. Yeah.
Flintstones was a
Oh,
like a primetime series. It wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was in the evenings.
Yeah, and you can find these commercials on YouTube. They actually did animated commercials for Winston cigarettes
Yes.
during the commercial with Fred and Barney having a smoke behind
Yeah.
the house before Wilma caught them.
Yeah.
You know, I used to watch that and My Three Sons. You know, I mean, it was like interchangeable.
You said that, and my foot started tapping.
do 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 do.
And
Yeah.
do you remember Fernwood Tonight?
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
Fernwood Tonight, then America Tonight.
yeah.
Happy
That was
Time.
funny.
Oh, Martin Mull.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love
oh,
Martin
and
Mull.
he was at his prime. So was what's his name?
Fred Willard.
Fred
Yeah,
Willard,
Fred
yeah.
Willard. You know, I loved him in the Stephen King movie, the made-for-TV movie, something Salem. He played some, you know, kind of lout of a guy who's sleeping with people's wives in it or everything. But Fred Willard and Martin Mull on that show, I would not miss an episode. That was,
I
you
know.
know, and I loved Mary Hartman, and all that stuff that came out of that stuff.
I thought Martin Mull made great records.
Oh yeah,
I loved stuff like Normal and I'm Everyone I Ever Loved yeah, I really loved his records.
I think they really hamstringed him a bit
Yeah.
on it's now called the Connors, but Roseanne. You know, I mean, he
Yeah.
was always there and everything, but they seemed like his character and what you could see, what he could do, the way he could look at somebody with those eyes, it was like they had a muzzle on him or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Glenn isn't here, but as you said, he was busy. So.
Yeah. Busy with family instead of me.
Family.
Oh,
Family
Don't
just
get
gets
us
in the way. Yeah. But you know, talking about videos, the video that I did that I figured I'm going to be lambasted by the you know, VC, you know, the vinyl community, is I did a video called My 10 Favorite Osmond Songs, right?
ooh,
And
yeah,
it ends up getting like 6,000 views.
yeah,
Because there's Osmond fans out there, right?
Yeah.
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 Well, you know, I had considered doing a video on like one hit wonders. I'll get to it, but
Uh-huh.
I also wanted to do the silly one hit wonders that nobody will admit they like, but you don't see people racing to turn it down or changing the station and everything. And one of those songs to me, it comes from a cartoon, the Archie, Sugar Sugar.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know what? That is a damn infectious song.
It
It was well recorded.
Yeah.
And for what it was, I mean, that is the ultimate kiddies pop rock song of all time to me.
And one thing I don't like is, you know, people say, what's your guilty pleasure? It's like,
Right.
why should I have a guilty pleasure? If I like something, I'm not going to feel guilty about it.
I'm
I
right there
know.
with you.
Yeah.
I
Right
know,
there with
but
you.
at the same time, you know, there are songs where you feel the pressure, you know, oh, well, I like it. Wait,
I like
wait a minute.
Crazy
Did everybody
Horse.
hear
I like-
Michael doesn't like that song or loves that song or whatever, you know? And it's like, but yeah, a guilty pleasure, you'd almost have to use that in your title though, Larry,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, nobody's going to watch the video because
Yeah.
everybody knows what a guilty pleasure is. And so,
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't believe in guilty pleasures because, like I said, I just made a video about my 10 favorite Osmond songs.
Yeah.
But, you know, I listen to the Osmonds, but I also listen to the Jam. I listen to Buzzcocks. I listen to Andy Williams.
No matter what, the Osmonds were damn talented.
Yeah.
oh,
and
yeah.
You know.
they were huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a video a month ago about Bay City Rollers.
Yeah.
You know, am I saying that these are the greatest bands in the world? No, but I love them, and I never stop loving a band. You know, it's funny because people will go, oh man, I loved, or I used to love the Cowsills, or whatever. Speaking of, I love the Cowsills, but people will say like, oh, I used to love the Cowsills. It's like, did you stop loving them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I love a band, I love Joe Raposo's songwriting, and people are going to go, Joe Raposo. It's like he wrote a lot of the early Sesame Street songs, like I Love Trash, or It's Not Easy Being Green, Apke Jackie Juckamanaka Suitzes, things like that. And this is the stuff I grew up with.
Yeah.
So, and I still love that. I pull out Sesame Street albums? No, but
Right.
I love that stuff. And I can just those songs, I can sing I Love Trash. Well, I'm not going to, because I know Larry keeps pushing me. He keeps texting me, oh, can you come on the show and sing I Love Trash? but once I love a song or a group, I never let go of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember back when, what was it? When I first got my record, I got a small little box record player for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, we were dirt poor. So for me to get even a small box record player and 3 records, I mean, that was a big ticket item in our house. And I got one of them was a compilation record, and it included mainly, I would say 40% of the record was Beach Boys. Right. Mm-hmm. And then there was Jan and Dean, The Ventures, and all of that. A surf album. I loved it. But the one that I loved then, and I still love today, and they kind of, to me, it seems like they've fallen out of favor historically. They even did a movie on them, and it didn't do well, was the Four Seasons. I would hear songs like Carol, or all of those wonderful but see, I've always been a sucker for harmony. I love harmony and 4-part harmony. Oh man, that's why I loved Queen. They were like heavy metal Four Seasons, if you think about it. Their voices sounding together and blending and everything. Well, even though John didn't always sing, but
like Four Seasons, just within the last month, they've been talking about it for like the last 6 months, but I think it just came out, or it's just coming out. It's like a 45 CD or 44 CD box set. Every one of their albums, including Frankie Valli's solo albums. So there's people out there who care, but as you guys know, there's a lot of bands that we all loved either back in the 60s, 70s, 80s that don't get brought up.
Right.
Anymore. Like, let's say, for example, people will talk about Jim Croce and James Taylor, but they won't talk about Sean Phillips.
Right.
People will talk about OMD and Flock of Seagulls, but they won't talk, they don't mention Thompson Twins that much or whatever. They don't get brought into conversations, even though these artists were very, very popular during their time. And like I said, I still love them. Yeah, Gearless the Playboys, another great band.
Yeah. And what is it about bands like fa bands like the Monkees? I always say this on my channel is it's always in the song. All right, it's always in the song. And with people like Neil Diamond writing for them, I mean, they had the best writers behind them. They had the best musicians, and they were good enough singers that they could actually
what
sing on there.
Gets to me though is, for instance, Whitney Houston. She never wrote songs, right? And she was a huge star. So why can't the Monkees? They didn't always write their own songs.
Well, I think the reason is first of all, there's an obvious talent difference. Even the Monkees, Michael Nesmith was probably the most well trained out of the 4 of them, followed closely by Peter Tork, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And the other 2 non-musicians, I remember. Yeah. What's that?
Mickey and Davey were actors who sang. Peter and Mike were musicians who acted.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I remember Mickey as Circus Boy before that. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to watch the Monkees is I remembered him. You know, it's
Mickey
like,
Braddock.
oh yeah, Circus Boy, man, that's him. But I think what it is it was the total team, because with Whitney, you've got, I mean, you know, she's such a was a magnificent singer. I mean, whether you liked her style or not, the woman could belt out. I bought her first album in the 80s. I loved it, man. I bought that and Tug of War on CD. My first two CDs. I was late to getting a CD player. Those were my first two CDs: Whitney Houston and Paul McCartney's Tug of War. And being a Beatle fan, you know, the Tug of War was a no-brainer, right? But I didn't know Whitney Houston. I had just heard her hits, and I go, damn, that woman could sing. And the bathing suit on the cover didn't hurt either.
Oh, absolutely. Here's my thought on a lot of these bands from the 60s. You know, you have, Mickey Dolenz had a great voice. You had a band like all the bands that we talk about today. The Beatles, the Kinks, the Who, the Rolling Stones, things like that. All the big bands that we're always focusing on, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple. These are bands that wrote their own material. When you look back, you know, Jerry and the Pacemakers had a bunch of great songs. The Searchers had a bunch of great songs. Herman's Hermits had a bunch of great songs, but almost none of it was written by the bands. You know, it was mostly covers. So if you look at the second tier British invasion bands, it's all bands that never wrote their songs. And I think that subconsciously or consciously, the critics have written them off because of the fact that they were not self-reliant. You know, they weren't a self-reliant unit where they could go and produce their own stuff. They were, you know, they had to rely on outside people. And I think that's why a lot of those bands are knocked down to second tier, third tier level, which I think, like Freddie Garrity from Freddie and the Dreamers had a great voice. Jerry Marsden from Jerry and the Pacemakers, great voice. But they didn't write their own material. And that's why they're sort of not as highly regarded as the other bands.
Right. Oh, that's very astute. I hadn't thought of that before. The dreaded lack of songwriting prejudice, you know? But I could see that. I could see that.
Three Dog Night doesn't get enough respect. And they were actually a great band. Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, Larry, I just spent this morning watching a really early tape of Three Dog Night doing Eli's Coming.
Yeah.
I bought them the second they came out. I was still living at home. I was still a teenager. And when One and Eli's Coming did it for me. And then as they got more poppy, I cared less and less. And the one singer kind of taking over more than the other two. But when that one video, all three of them always showcased their vocal prowess. This wasn't just one guy with a couple of backup singers. Either one of these guys could have led any act on the planet. And another thing, I remember clearly on their first album, Three Dog Night was the band. They had three singers. But Three Dog Night was actually a 7-member band originally.
Exactly. Right.
The band actually played on their albums, right?
Yes. Well, they were part of the group. They divvied up everything.
And we're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Can you believe it?
Don't get me started.
Well, you know, Alice Cooper was a band.
Yeah.
And then when the band broke up, then he just went off. And guess who I found out only in the last year? Now, I'm a fan of this, of course. Everyone's going to say it's a guilty pleasure. It's not. But there is an artist out there that's very well known. He's highly derided, you know, by the serious music fans. But Christopher Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Christopher Cross was the name of the band. His name is Christopher something or other. And the band was called Christopher Cross. And then he just adapted it as a stage name. But that's not his real name. It was originally.
I did not know that.
I didn't know until about a year ago.
Wow.
He's a great guitarist, too.
Oh, and that album, I went out and bought that immediately. You know, that first one. Anytime I heard Michael McDonald's voice, I mean, I could recognize him first time I heard a song, even if they had started the song already and I just got in the car, I'd go, Michael McDonald. You know,
Yeah.
that's him, man. Because I love Steely Dan, and so I got to know about him and everything. His voice
Yeah.
was so distinctive. But here's, you talk about possible guilty pleasures. I love this band, and they're, oh, all right, here it goes. I think they were wonderful. Gary Puckett and the Union Gap.
Absolutely.
All
yeah.
right. Wonderful songs. I mean, Young Girl, and they were all kind of preview.
You can't sing
Sesame-
that these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly,
no.
yeah.
No, as a matter of fact, my wife and I were watching that about a month ago.
Yeah.
You know, I was just showing her, oh, yeah. And then they sang this and they sang that. And we were both noting that none of those songs would fly because it was always some older guy and some possibly even as young as 12-year-old girl, it seemed
Yeah.
like they were singing about, you know?
Yeah. So that's why when you talk about Gary Puckett, start going, woman, what? You know, nobody's going to really care. You know, everyone, you know, no one's going to go, Michael, what are you singing about?
Yeah.
But you know, they're another band that like didn't write their songs. Spiral Staircase. God, that guy's, I forgot, Dan Upton or something like that. What a voice that guy had. You know, when I used to hear More Today Than Yesterday, I thought that was a Stevie Wonder song when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, like in the early 70s, I heard it. I thought it was Stevie Wonder.
Maybe you know this, Steve. You seem to have a lot of knowledge of this area. There, the song "Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes" or blows her nose.
Edison Lighthouse.
Right. Now, the guy who wrote that, from what I understand, he was in several acts. He was
sings
in
it. Tony
Yeah.
Burrows.
Yeah. And didn't he write that piece also?
No, he's
Oh.
like a session singer. Tony Burrows,
Okay.
he sang that. He sang Beach Baby. You know, First
Cufflinks?
Class.
Cufflinks?
No, that's Ron Dante from the Archies.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I'm getting the two of them mixed up. You know.
But Tony Burrows sang a lot of things. White Plains, you know, My Baby Loves Lovin'.
Yeah.
He sang you know, Love Grows by Edison Lighthouse. He sang I think he might have sang Gimme That Ting by the Pipkins. Like I said, A Beach Baby by First Class. So he's on like 95% of your favorite 70s songs.
Yeah.
And yeah. But interesting thing about Ron Dante did vocals for the Archies, and he was in the Cufflinks with Tracy.
Right.
And I just saw him on Friday night at the Nuggets show in LA, where Lenny Kaye presents the 50th anniversary of the Nuggets.
Right.
And he came out and he sang Romeo and Juliet. You know, just like Rome, and he sounded great. You know, it had a couple of members of the Leaves. It had Susanna Haas from the Bangles, Weird Al Yankovic. Incredible show.
Wow.
I talk about it in one of my videos.
So he's still got his pipes, huh?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
you see so many of our aging rock stars are starting to lose their voice. I was highly critical of Paul's voice here recently.
Yeah.
And then I listened to going right into 22. Of course, he was an easy target, charging $5,000 for the best seats in the house. So I was pissed at it for that, even though he's probably my favorite single artist of all time.
Yep.
That used to be tied with John Lennon, but John died in 1980. Paul had longer to do more.
Yeah.
And so for that reason only, he holds the number one spot for me. But I was critical of his voice until I started listening to other singers like Neil, and those guys. And then I went
Vince
back and
Neil.
listened to some of those live cuts. And you know what? Paul's got that rasp, but he still carries a damn good, strong melody. And it's still listenable, you know. I just wish he'd get to work on doing something more as far as his albums. I love the Egypt Station. There is some brilliance on McCartney 3 that a lot of people are ignoring, but I felt like out of anybody who was going to come out of that pandemic period, McCartney might just show us one more genius effort, you know.
You know who still sounds great? Not as powerful. I mean, he like even up to 5 years ago, he still sounded great, but he's sort of lost a little bit of it. But he's older than a lot of these people, and he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Is Neil Sedaka?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, what a voice that guy had, and the fact that he wrote those standard songs in the 50s.
Yep.
You know, the what he called the sandwich songs. That basically start off with you know, you know, and it would begin and end with that. But then he changed his songwriting style in the 70s. So he started writing great songs like Love Will Keep Us Together, which he recorded with 10cc. That was before 10cc with 10cc. And then, of course, Laughter in the Rain was one of the greatest songs in the 70s. And Hungry Years and stuff. Just fantastic. I think he should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, along with Harry Nilsson, Warren Zevon, the Monkees. But
yes,
you know,
yes, I agree with all of that. And you know, to me, I've said this before. The Monkees is perhaps the hardest band that you could probably argue to be in the Hall of Fame. But here's my argument: 2 actors, 2 musicians. All of them would have done anything to get those parts. They became, you know, most of the great bands from the early 60s on into the late 60s, early 70s were often garage bands. They'd have A&R people back before they were called A&R people.
Yeah.
A&R people need to be fired yesterday, but because they don't know shit. But they would hire people to go out into the suburbs and find these acts, you know. And the thing is, the Monkees did it on steroids. They were not a garage act. They were a TV show band. But they became a real band. Yeah. And the discography, the hits anyway, for sure, is just amazing. You can't ignore that. Yeah. And if you can have what is her name? Melissa, who's just been nominated. Never heard of her before. She has some R&B roots, but basically she's kind of hip hopish. She's in the counting. They had
Missy Elliott.
Missy Elliott, thank you. That's it. And she was dead second to last in fan voting. But then when they put out their new thing, oh, she's in.
But
you know,
when we
and Warren Zevon wasn't.
Oh,
When we complain about these we're not complaining about their talent, right? We're complaining that they shouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's what I said in that video, Larry, was I'm not complaining. I even said that. All of these artists, to even get nominated, they have to be in the top of their field pretty much. So I'm not complaining about the talent. I'm not complaining about them being on a list. I'm complaining about them being on this list. Yeah. Can't we at least agree what is not rock and roll? Because this whole idea of rap and the hip hop that's come kind of out of that, which is, to me, hip hop is just kind of like the top 40 version of rap, it seems like. But their roots were inner city beginnings, based on inner city living, with boom boxes and turntables, very concrete, blah, blah, blah. They did not have but just a shimmer of blues as part of what made them, okay? They were almost an antithesis of what Black artists had come up with before. And like I said, that was a forward movement. I'm not a fan of either genre. Although I've heard a couple that, you know, interest me. But here's the thing. I think that it's pretty obvious. LL Cool J versus Foreigner. I mean, Missy Elliott versus who you named him? Yeah, Warren Zevon. Oh man, do you know what? Do you know what John Sykes told David Letterman about Warren Zevon? Because Letterman is a huge Zevon fan.
Exactly.
And he said, what are their chances? John Sykes, who is an implant, he's the new chairman of the board of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's a minion from Jan Winter. And he comes from the Madison Square Garden Entertainment, and he's all fooled around with Bono and that relief that's going to Africa that the people in Africa are complaining about because it's corrupt.
Yeah.
All right. So here's John Sykes, David Letterman. What's their chance? What's his chances? And he goes, well, you know, Dave, he didn't test well with our focus groups. There's how they're choosing them, guys.
That's real rock and
He
roll.
admitted it. He admitted it, and nobody's talking about this. Focus groups. And then, you know what he also said? He says, besides, those focus groups tell me he's not very danceable. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What do you do with that? I mean, these guys, that organization, you know, somebody needs to do the real rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
But that would get it corrupt in no time, too. I don't know.
I think all these artists are very much deserving of the attention and the fame and the love and the adulation. But yes, I do kind of question things when you, I mean, Andrew Gold should be at least considered in the songwriters, or I mean, you know, at least a hallway in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know, Warren Zevon, you know, things like that. But then you've got Eminem in there, and you've got, and I'm not knocking these bands at all, because there's so many fans of this stuff, and there's going to be people who are going to make fun of me for my love of the Osmonds, but you know, so I don't knock anybody's music at all, but I just kind of, it's like rock and roll, you know, and what kind of influence has it had on art, on later rock and roll artists? I don't think that the Offspring or Blink-182, I don't think that they have a very strong Missy Elliott influence in their music.
Yeah.
Or a strong, you know, but you know,
well,
the thing is,
you know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It is a corporate thing. So why are we, you know, none of us are corporate people, you know, in terms of, you know, we don't kowtow to the corporate labels and stuff. And that's really what this is all about.
Yeah.
Anyway. So,
well, you know, I think
is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem is they're running out of talent, and you got to be frank. Larry, you started this show off by somebody asking you, what are your favorite bands of the 21st century?
Yeah.
And you know, I gave you 3 examples of bands I like. I like Dorothy, I like Wild Honey, and I like Rival Sons. I think these guys are top notch. I think they could be the future of rock and roll, but I've done videos on them. Nobody gives a damn because they don't have the pedigree. Although I'm going to tell you, if you listen to their albums, they do. All right. And part of the reason people are losing interest, okay, is first of all, these are but 3 bands out of 100 out there that are doing it the same old, dial up a writer, dial up the same effects, dial up auto-tune, dial up a rap. They've been sampling our shit forever. Let's sample some of their, and it's garbage for the most part that I'm hearing. But there are some talented, and all 3 of these bands, by the way, Dorothy less so, but as far as songwriting, they're right up there. But Rival Sons and Wild Honey, I'm going to tell you right now, both of them are kick-ass, gut-wrenching rock and roll, but with good melody. See, people keep forgetting it's always in the song. Yeah, it's always in the song, and gets back to what you were saying, Stephen. You got to write your own material. These guys write their own material, and they're only proving what they want to prove to themselves, and I think that would be the future. But with the nadir of talent, it seems like, as far as, you know, I just said this has been a good year. 2023, we've gotten 72 Seasons by Metallica, we've gotten Mirror to the Sky by Yes, and we've gotten Rock Flute by Jethro Tull. All great albums. Yeah, and the new Sparks album. But see,
and the new Lemon Sherbets album.
But here's the deal, you know, that's a bumper year by the last 5 to 7 year standards. Back in my day, that would have been a week.
Yeah.
We'd get 3 classic albums a week on a slow week. You know,
I remember walking into Licorice Pizza and I couldn't decide, am I going to buy Clash London Calling or the Jam Setting Suns, which came out the same week?
Right.
You know, yeah.
Right. Oh, and right through the 80s, well, through most of the 80s, the latter part of the 80s, I wouldn't have given you 2 cents for. I was an
Yeah.
active musician then, and I was being about 7 years before that, 78, 77. Every place that paid me to play music, all right, gutted their damn stage and put up a fucking disco ball. Excuse my language, Larry. Sorry.
No fucking swearing on my live chat, Mike.
Shit.
Please beg me. I beg your forgiveness. But no, seriously, those the disco craze. That's why I'm not a big fan of it. Now, there's some great disco songs, man. I could name dozens, actually.
Yeah.
But the movement wasn't good for music in general, first of all, because that was the beginning of we'll cover it in the studio and make miracles. Stars on Parade and all of that stuff happening all at that time.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Then we got that new wave movement and punk happened. I'm not a punk fan, but it was necessary. It had to happen. And from punk came bands that were more palatable to me, like The Clash, like The Police, even though a lot of people say, no, The Clash are totally punk,
Yeah.
But I saw them less punk, more police-ish. Those two bands, that kicked rock and roll into high gear right there. Those two bands were the only bands that were given Michael Jackson and Prince a run for their money, because the decade had turned into the decade of the single artist. And we'd have U2 putting out occasional great albums, then slightly less great. But those bands held it together. U2, Police, The Clash for a while, later U2, and then the hair bands came in. Oh, I hated them.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand them, And thank God grunge happened.
We see, I couldn't stand the hair bands either, but I didn't care for grunge, because grunge actually, because of grunge, all the cool bands like the Posies, who were really a good pop band, every pop band felt that they needed to turn their amp up to 11.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of truth to that, man. There is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of distortion. Like there's a great band called Dylan Fence, who were out of Chapel Hill. Incredible. Greg Humphreys had this great soulful voice. It came out with this debut album called Rosemary. Incredible album. But then grunge came along. So their second album, still great songs, but it was really muddy sounding, and all the guitars had that grungy sound to them. And this is a band that didn't need that. This is a band that just had great tunes and great harmonies and great melodies and stuff like that. But this is the first time anybody's talked about Dylan Fence on YouTube.
I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah, incredible. They're on the Mammoth record label.
Really? Okay, I'll check them out, man. Yeah, but no, there's truth to that, because everywhere, even the pop band artists had to sound a little grungy.
Yeah, everybody did. I mean, but I was going to say though that we were talking about bands that. Are you saying goodbye to people, or are you telling us to wind it up?
And thank you for the super chat there, Ken Domick Reaction Channel.
Oh yes, thank you for Larry's
you
super
guys
chat.
aren't getting any of it. I'm not splitting it.
No.
It's not the way it works on my channel.
Yeah, trust me, and I am PayPaling you the $20 for allowing me.
Thank you.
I thought there was going to be sandwiches, man.
but we were talking about these bands that aren't really that are second, third tier because they're not writing their own songs. There are exceptions, because the interpreter is what's important. So Elvis, Clash, I love that box.
Yeah.
But like Elvis, he had the voice, so he deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Whitney Houston, she had the voice, but then you have someone like Dolly Parton, who has the voice and other things, and also she's a great songwriter.
Yeah, and guess what? Her latest rock song, good song, nice melody, everything I've come to expect from Miss Dolly. I love her, but it's not rock and roll, Dolly.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pop song turned to 11. Matter of fact, Stephen, you just called it, because that's exactly the approach on that song. And it's a great song, but come on.
Like a country pop rock song. Like it's and it's forced, right?
It's alternative.
Well, the whole project is forced.
He doesn't know what rock is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she drank the Kool-Aid, man.
Yeah.
She did. Because I did a whole video on praising her for turning it down. And
Can I
then a
make a
few
couple
days
of
later, she had accepted.
Can I
I
make
think she
know,
a
was
couple
forced
of
into
big
it.
points about Dolly Parton?
What's that?
Never mind.
Oh,
Um, but
you sexist pig.
yeah, but of course we're both giving him high fives backstage.
Yeah.
um,
Well,
but you know, every art or every genre, every time music turns around, there's a lot of bands that get sucked into that. You know, so like when punk came around, all of a sudden, you know, some of these bands all of a sudden started cutting their hair short, or they shaved off their mustaches, and they started wearing the striped wife beater
oh,
T-shirts, and
oh,
and you always knew when a band wasn't really new wave when like one of the members had all that stuff, the short hair, and they had the cut off T-shirts, and they had like the flying V guitar, and they had a headband and a mustache. You always
yeah,
knew, okay, they are not new wave. Like
right.
3 weeks ago, they were in a Molly Hatchet cover band, and now they're, playing new wave music.
Yeah,
Um,
and that happened so much in the '60s
I
too.
know.
All
Yeah,
these
yeah, it
bands
did. Yeah,
that they had these great songs, and then you looked at them and you go, God, they look. One of them looks like a fat Clark Kent, with frizzy hair,
yeah,
and they just didn't look the part. But they were trying to look the part because the album before that, they all had, insurance, hair sales, and looking like
yeah.
the Ventures
Well,
and all of that.
even go way back to Bill Haley, right? He
Yeah,
wasn't exactly looking like a rock and roller, right?
Oh my
right.
gosh. Bill Haley
Well,
looked like
for the
the guy would
time,
be serving ice cream.
yeah. But for the time, he had the black suit and he had his hair slicked back. Okay, he was a bit blondish, wasn't he? As I recall,
He had
and
a
that,
little spit curl.
Yeah.
yeah, it probably would have looked better in black hair, because we're
Yeah,
used to Elvis and all that.
yeah,
But I still say "Rock Around the Clock's one of the, it's the most overplayed song from that era. But I got to tell you, if you just listen to it,
Yep.
there are so many things. I could do a whole video on that song alone. The recording, some of the effects, the players that are involved, the attack of the vocals, how it was mixed in general for a single freaking speaker the size of this in an
yeah,
Oldsmobile, buried in a metal, frame that you could barely hear it from.
yeah,
And somehow that song pops right through all that static. And there was a
yeah,
reason for it.
yeah.
Absolute classic.
I Somebody wrote here good songs. Don't matter what the bands look like. I assume is what they're saying. I think that MTV was the greatest thing and the worst thing for music because it
Yeah,
killed bands who were not attractive,
right.
and yet it also brought attention to a lot of bands that were not getting attention before.
Yeah.
Um, and I generally did dislike music videos, with the band's acting, stilted acting.
I think it was exciting up until about 84.
Yeah,
It was real exciting. But then, they crawled up their own arse a
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
John Sykes comes from that. He comes from VH1.
Yeah.
yeah,
All of this stuff, the sins of the father, people. I
yeah,
mean, corruption goes way back, and MTV was brilliant, even though it was previously invented by the Beatles and shown on Ed Sullivan.
yeah,
But it was no, but as a channel, that was a brilliant idea. We had the new wave artists coming in, a new resurgence of British blood into the scene that had seemed to thin out a little bit over,
uh,
the last decade a bit, and with American bands getting even more popular because they had finally caught up with the
yeah,
English invasion,
yeah,
you know. And other than that, man, what can you say?
yeah.
It's the lay of the land. It's the
I feel
lay of
bad
the
that
land.
I feel bad that some people are actually looking forward to this chat ending. I just
Yeah.
want to keep going.
Speaking of it ending, I think it's
Yeah,
time to go, but I will leave a link for both of your channels in the
Thank
pinned
you.
comment below. It was a great chat. Thank you,
Hey,
Michael.
Larry, thank you for letting me and Steven kind of chip back. We kind of ate
I
up
never even got a
that.
word in edgewise.
I
Yeah,
know,
I
but that's what
apologize.
makes you a great co-host. And anyway, I've been wanting to talk to Steven. I didn't even know he was on. When you invited me up, I spent 10 minutes getting my equipment together and getting things. And then I got on because you can't see when you sign in.
Yeah.
And he was on, and oh, Steven, good, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Well,
he's
see,
here.
I disappointed Larry because he was expecting you, and I was the guy that popped up.
No way. No way.
So
Listen
Michael,
to my voice and then listen to Steven's voice, man. I mean, Steven's got that, oh, man, those golden tones. He
Yeah.
knows what he's talking about, speaks from his heart. Great talent, great talent.
that's what it's
Oh,
all
yeah,
about.
and that's Canadian Studmuffin guy up here.
Yeah.
There you go.
But Michael, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Larry,
Thank you.
you're a Canadian.
Oh, ow.
No, Larry. Larry, I still say he's one of the most respected and loved
Yes, he
YouTubers
is.
out there. At least out there. Well, he's one of the most respected and loved YouTubers named Canadian Studmuffin
I sure respect him.
on the internet.
Well, and also, like I said when I first got on, he's available. He gives his energy into
Yeah.
the community. He's helped me out tons, and I appreciate it, Larry. I really do.
Thank
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for allowing me up here, and thank you, Michael, for the conversation.
And
Yeah,
thank you,
thanks, Steve.
everybody, for all the questions. I hope we answered most of them. I think we did. And make sure you subscribe to Michael's channel and SCHNEE's channel.
Yeah, Steve SCHNEE, the CD junkie.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night,
I
everybody.
think I see some kids on my lawn.